The inspection was supposed to be routine. Inspector Vrixtal had performed hundreds of these checks across the outer colonies, and today should have been no different. His forelegs carried him through the sterile corridors of the Kara 7 research facility while his compound eyes scanned every detail. The Torvin clan facility looked clean on the surface, just like all the others. Vrixtal clicked his mandibles together, a nervous habit from his insectoid species, the Chalri. Something felt wrong. The facility supervisor, a thick-bodied Torvin named Grell, followed too closely. His breathing was heavy, and he kept trying to steer Vrixtal away from certain sections. "The lower levels are just storage," Grell said for the third time. "Nothing interesting down there, just old equipment." But Vrixtal had not survived 50 years as an inspector by ignoring his instincts. "I will see everything," he replied, his translator box converting his clicks into standard galactic speech. "Council regulations are clear." Grell's face darkened, but he could not refuse. Not officially. They descended 3 levels on the industrial lift. The air grew colder and carried a strange smell. Not chemicals or machinery. Something else. Something that made Vrixtal's antennae twitch with concern. The doors opened to reveal a long corridor lined with reinforced doors. Security doors. Prison doors. "What is stored here?" Vrixtal demanded. "Experimental subjects," Grell said quickly. "All legal, all documented." Vrixtal approached the first door. A small window showed the inside. What he saw made his entire body freeze. Children. Small humanoid children with pale skin and dark hair, huddled together on a thin mat. Their clothes were dirty and torn. Their faces were thin and hollow. One child, barely more than a hatchling by Chalri standards, looked up at the window with empty eyes. "Open this," Vrixtal said quietly. "Inspector, I must insist. Open it." Vrixtal's voice rose to a screech that hurt even his own hearing. Grell reluctantly entered a code. The door hissed open. The smell hit Vrixtal immediately. Unwashed bodies, sickness, and fear. The children pressed themselves against the far wall. Vrixtal entered slowly, keeping his body low to appear less threatening. Among the Chalri, younglings were sacred. All younglings. To harm a child was the greatest sin imaginable. "It is safe," he said softly, though he knew they probably could not understand. "I am here to help." One child, a female with tangled brown hair, stepped forward. She could not have been more than 10 solar cycles old. She held up her thin arms, showing bruises and needle marks. Then she pointed to the others. Some were even younger. 5 or 6 cycles. Babies, really. Vrixtal's mandibles trembled with rage. He activated his personal recording device, hidden in his chest carapace. He needed evidence. Undeniable evidence. He moved through the corridor. Door after door held more children. 23 in total. All human. All in various states of neglect and abuse. Some bore signs of medical experimentation. Others had clearly been worked to exhaustion. In the last cell, he found files. Digital records that Grell had been too panicked to hide. Vrixtal downloaded everything to his secure storage crystal. Purchase records, medical logs, experiment results. The humans had been bought from slavers who found them on a derelict colony ship 30 years ago. The children were not born into this horror. They had been taken. "These are unaffiliated primitives," Grell said from behind him. "No council protection. Perfectly legal salvage under..." Vrixtal spun faster than Grell expected. His forelegs struck the Torvin across the face, sending him sprawling. "There is no law that permits this," he shrieked. Grell wiped blood from his mouth and smiled coldly. "Actually, Inspector, there is. And if you make trouble, the Torvin clan has many friends. We can make you disappear. Maybe your family, too." Vrixtal said nothing. He simply turned and walked back to the children. He could not free them. Not yet. Not alone. But he could do something else. He removed his outer garment, a ceremonial sash that marked his rank. Among his people, to give this to another was a promise of protection. He draped it over the shoulders of the small female who had shown him her bruises. "Help is coming," he told her. hoping somehow she understood his tone if not his words. Then he left. He walked past Grell without a word, rode the lift to the surface, returned to his ship with steady steps, even though every instinct screamed at him to run. Once aboard and sealed in his private cabin, Vrixtal worked quickly. He connected to the quantum communication network. First, he sent his complete report to the Council Oversight Committee. Then he did something that would probably end his career. He sent copies to every major news network in the known galaxy. Independent journalists, opposition politicians, advocacy groups, anyone who would listen. The files were too large to hide, too detailed to dismiss. The footage of those children in their cages would speak louder than any words. Within an hour, Vrixtal's communicator exploded with incoming messages. Threats from Torvan representatives, demands from council officials, but also something else. Messages of support from other species. Chalri, Cathari, Luminals, and dozens more. The footage was spreading, faster than anyone could stop it. Across planets and space stations and colonies, millions of beings were watching those human children pressed against cell walls, seeing the needle marks, the bruises, the hopeless eyes. Vrixtal received a final message from Grell. "You have signed your death warrant, Inspector. The Torvan clan does not forgive." But Vrixtal also received a message from someone else. Someone unexpected. The sender identity was blocked, but the message was clear. "Inspector Vrixtal, we are grateful for what you have done. We are coming for our children. Stay safe. You will be protected. Signed, Earth." Earth. Vrixtal searched his databases. The human homeworld was listed as a primitive planet. Pre-spaceflight civilization. Class 4 development. No contact allowed under council law. How had they sent an encrypted quantum message? How did they even know about this? His questions were interrupted by another alert. His ship's sensors detected multiple vessels entering the system. Not merchant ships, warships. A Torvan security fleet was coming for him. Vrixtal prepared his ship for emergency jump. But before he could activate the drive, something happened. Space itself seemed to ripple. An unknown ship appeared directly between his vessel and the approaching Torvan fleet. It was sleek and dark, built with technology he did not recognize. His communicator crackled. "Inspector Vrixtal, this is Captain Chen of the Earth Defense Network. We are escorting you to safety. Please follow our nav beacon." "But Earth is primitive," Vrixtal said, confused. "You have no space flight." The human's laugh was cold. "We've been out here longer than you think, Inspector. We just prefer people not knowing about us. Follow us. Now." The Torvan ships opened fire, but their weapons splashed harmlessly against the unknown human ship's shields. Return fire was precise and devastating. 3 Torvan vessels went dark in seconds. "Jump in 3, Captain Chen said. 2, 1. Space folded and Vrixtal's ship was pulled along in the human vessel's wake. Behind them, Kara 7 grew smaller. But Vrixtal knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy had seen those caged children, and the galaxy was very, very angry. The universe would remember what happened next. The footage spread like fire in dry grass. Within 12 hours, every connected world in the collective council had seen it. The images of human children behind bars, their thin faces and hollow eyes, played on screens from the core worlds to the furthest colonies. On Cathar Prime, the warrior poets gathered in their meditation halls and declared a state of collective grief. The sight of caged younglings violated their deepest beliefs. The clan leader stood before the planetary assembly and spoke words that would echo across the stars. "The Torvan clan is without honor. They are without soul. Any who deal with them share their shame." The Luminal Collective, beings of pure energy who rarely involved themselves in physical matters, issued a statement that shocked diplomats everywhere. They were severing all trade agreements with Torvan Holdings. Immediately, no negotiations. No grace period. The Hive Mothers of Realm, usually indifferent to mammalian affairs, sent a simple message. "Even we do not harm the larvae of others. This cannot stand." Species after species joined the chorus of outrage. What the Torvan had done crossed every line. Children were sacred, not just to one species, but to nearly every sentient race. To cage them, starve them, experiment on them was unthinkable. The council chamber on the station Nexus Prime was in chaos. Ambassador Elena Vasquez sat in the human observer section, a seat usually empty because humans were not official members. She was a middle-aged woman with steel-gray hair and sharp eyes. She had held this position for 5 years, watching and reporting but never speaking. Today was different. Ambassador Vasquez, the council speaker, called. His voice echoed through the vast chamber. Humanity has been summoned to answer questions. Elena stood and walked to the central platform. Thousands of representatives from hundreds of species watched her, some with sympathy, others with suspicion. The Torvan delegation glared at her with open hatred. Ambassador, the speaker continued, these children are human, yet Earth claims to be a primitive world with no spaceflight capability. Explain. Elena smiled, but it was not a warm expression. Earth has had spaceflight for over 200 years. We have had quantum communication for 70 years. We have maintained observation posts throughout the galaxy for 50 years. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. The speaker slammed his authority staff against the floor 3 times before order returned. Why hide this? Demanded a Torvan representative. Why deceive the council? Because we learned from history, Elena replied calmly. We studied every first contact event in galactic records. Do you know what we found? 2 out of 3 newly discovered species either get conquered, exploited, or caught in wars they don't understand. We decided to watch and learn first. A representative from the architect species, ancient beings who rarely spoke, stirred in their suspension tank. Their voice was like wind through crystal. A wise choice. Few are so patient, the children, the speaker said. What will Earth do? We're coming for them, Elena said simply. All of them. And we're bringing friends. The Torvan representative stood. The acquisition was legal under salvage law. The colony ship was abandoned. No distress signal. No survivors found. You claim nothing, Elena interrupted. Her voice was ice. Those children came from the colony ship New Dawn. It left Earth 32 years ago carrying 300 families. It disappeared in the Karis region. We searched for 5 years before we had to give up the active search. But their families never stopped hoping. Never stopped waiting. She pulled out a data crystal and inserted it into the central display. Holographic images appeared. Human families holding pictures of their lost loved ones. Mothers and fathers who had aged 30 years still hoping. Children who are now adults waiting for siblings who might never come home. These are the people you stole from, Elena said. These are the families you destroyed. The chamber was silent. Even the Torvan representative sat down. What are your demands? The speaker asked. The children returned safely. Full medical treatment for their injuries. The Torvan clan dissolved and its leaders tried for crimes against sentient beings. And a full investigation into how this happened under council supervision. These demands are, the Torvan representative began. Non-negotiable, Elena finished. We're not asking permission. A recess was called. Elena returned to her seat, but she did not sit. An aide approached, a young man named Marcus who had been with her for 3 years. Ambassador, there are threats, he whispered. Security intercepted communications. The Torvan have hired assassins. I know, Elena said. She had expected this. The attack came during the recess in a side corridor near the human section. 3 assassins, professionals from the shadow markets. They moved fast and silent, but they never reached Elena. A figure appeared from nowhere. Male human moving with impossible speed. He wore no uniform, just dark clothing that seemed to absorb light. His movements were precise and brutal. 3 seconds. 3 dead assassins. The corridor filled with security forces, but the bodyguard was already gone. The Torvan representative protested loudly. This proves humanity is dangerous. They bring assassins into the council. Those were your assassins, Elena said coldly. And that was our security. You're not the only ones who've been operating quietly in the shadows. When the session resumed, a new transmission arrived. It came from Earth itself, broadcast on all channels. Everyone in the chamber watched as a simple message appeared. To the Torvan clan and any who support them. We are coming for our children. Stand aside or be moved aside. This is not a negotiation. This is a notification. You have 48 hours to prepare for our arrival. The transmission showed something else too. Ships. Lots of ships. More than should have been possible for a supposedly primitive world. The fleet was already moving toward the Karis system. The chamber erupted again. The speaker could not restore order for several minutes. Humanity threatens war, the Torvan representative shouted. No, said the architect representative, their voice cutting through the noise. Humanity promises justice. There is a difference. The council will handle this internally, the speaker declared. We will send forces to recover the children and arrest those responsible. Too late, Elena said. We're already moving, but you're welcome to come along. This is unprecedented, the speaker protested. So is caging 23 children for 3 decades, Elena replied. If the council had been doing its job, we would not need to do this. She pulled out another data crystal. I suggest you watch this. It's from our investigators. The new footage showed something that made even hardened diplomats sick. Records from the Torvan facility showing that this was not an isolated incident. There were other facilities. Other species' children had also vanished over the years. The Torvan clan had been doing this for a long time, and bribes to council members had kept it hidden. The chamber fell into shocked silence. Now you understand, Elena said quietly. This isn't just about human children. This is about every species' young ones who have disappeared and been written off as accidents or lost ships. The Torvan have been doing this for 50 years, and some of you knew. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives who suddenly could not hold her gaze. We're coming for our children, Elena repeated, and we're going to burn this corruption out of the galaxy. You can help us or you can get out of the way. As Elena left the chamber, her communicator chimed. A message from the human fleet commander. ETA to Karis system, 36 hours. We're bringing company. Cathari ships just joined formation. Luminalis too. More coming. Elena allowed herself a small smile. The universe was angry, and the universe was finally ready to act. The Torvan clan was about to learn what happened when you hurt someone's children. Sarah Chen had been 17 when her baby sister disappeared with the new dawn. She was 49 now, her hair streaked with gray, but she still kept Emma's room exactly as it had been, a shrine to a 5-year-old girl who would be 37 if she was still alive. When the call came from Earth Defense Command, Sarah did not believe it at first. Could not believe it. They had found the new dawn children. Emma might be alive, Sarah was not alone. Across Earth, families were receiving the same message. The parents who had aged 30 years without answers. The siblings who had grown up with ghosts. The grandparents who had never stopped hoping. The colony ship New Dawn had carried 300 families to a new world. When it vanished, Earth had searched desperately for 5 years. They found nothing, no debris, no distress signals, just silence. Eventually, the search was called off. The families were told to accept that their loved ones were gone. But the families never truly accepted it. They formed support groups, they pressured politicians, they raised money for private search efforts. And when Earth developed its hidden space program, they demanded that their government keep looking. Now, 32 years later, the answer had come, and it was worse than anyone had imagined. Sarah watched the news reports showing the footage from Karis 7. She saw the caged children and felt her heart break. Were any of these her Emma? The children's faces were hard to see clearly. They were so thin, so scared Earth Defense Command set up emergency centers in every major city. Medical teams prepared. Psychologists specialized in trauma stood ready. Families gathered, hoping and terrified at the same time. Meanwhile, in orbit above Earth, the hidden fleet prepared to launch. These were not the primitive chemical rockets that Earth showed to any watching alien telescopes. These were quantum drive vessels, powered by technology that Earth scientists had developed in secret underground facilities. Admiral Marcus Rivera stood on the bridge of the ESS Defiance, the flagship of Earth's hidden navy. He had lost a nephew on the New Dawn. The boy's name was Carlos, and he had been 8 years old, full of energy and questions, gone in an instant when the colony ship vanished. Status? Rivera asked. All ships ready, his tactical officer reported. 47 vessels. Full combat loadout. Medical ships standing by. Allied fleet status? The Cathari have sent 12 warships. The Luminal Collective is providing 5 support vessels. We're receiving notification of more ships joining from other species. Sir, this is becoming the largest coalition fleet in recent history. Rivera nodded grimly. The galaxy was angry. Species that had been neutral or even hostile to each other were coming together, all because of those caged children. Communications from the Vreln Hive, another officer reported. They're sending 6 ships. They say, and I quote, "Even we protect the young. We stand with Earth." Rivera felt a surge of emotion. The Vreln had killed thousands of humans in border conflicts just 20 years ago. But this was different. This went beyond old hatreds. "Signal from the surface," the communications officer said. "Ambassador Vasquez requests a direct line." Elena's face appeared on the screen. She was still at Nexus Prime, the council station. "Admiral, the council is trying to negotiate a peaceful resolution. They want us to stand down and let them handle it." "What did you tell them?" Rivera asked. "I told them they had 30 years to handle it, and they failed. We're not stopping." "Good. What's the political situation?" "Complicated. Some council members are with us. Others are angry that we hid our capabilities. The Torvin are fortifying their positions and hiring mercenaries. They think they can hold us off until political pressure forces us to back down." Rivera smiled coldly. "They're wrong. We're not politicians. We're parents. And we're coming for our children." Elena's expression softened. "Marco, be careful. Intel suggests the Torvin have access to weapons we haven't seen before. This could get bloody." "It's already bloody," Rivera replied. "Those children have been bleeding for 30 years. It's time someone else did." The fleet launched 6 hours later. 47 Earth ships followed by vessels from 24 other species. They moved as one, jumping through quantum space toward the Keras system. On the Defiance's bridge, Rivera watched the star map. The Keras system was 8 jumps away. They would arrive in 30 hours. He hoped they would not be too late. In his private quarters, he kept a picture of Carlos. The boy was smiling, holding a toy spaceship, excited about the adventure to a new world. Rivera touched the picture frame gently. "I'm coming, Carlos. If you're there, if you're alive, I'm coming." While the fleet traveled, Earth's intelligence services worked overtime. They hacked into Torvin communication networks. They bribed sources. They called in favors from species who wanted to help. What they found made everyone's blood run cold. The Keras 7 facility was not the only one. The Torvin clan had operated similar sites for 50 years. The record showed dozens of lost colony ships from various species. Thousands of children had passed through these facilities. Most had died. Some had been sold to other criminal organizations. A few, like the New Dawn children, had been kept for long-term experimentation. The goal was horrifying in its simplicity. The Torvin wanted to create a slave race. They were trying to breed the perfect workers by combining traits from different species. Obedient, strong, intelligent enough to follow complex orders but not smart enough to rebel. They had failed, mostly, but not for lack of trying. The children had suffered through countless experiments, genetic modifications, behavioral conditioning, torture disguised as training. When this information was released to the fleet, the mood changed. This was no longer just a rescue mission. This was an extermination. The Torvin clan had forfeited any right to mercy. "Incoming transmission," the communications officer reported. "It's from Keras 7, direct message to Earth." Rivera tensed. "Put it through." A face appeared on the screen. Young, female, human. She had dark hair pulled back from a thin face. Her eyes were old despite her young features. Behind her, other children were visible. Different species, all with the same haunted look. "My name is Maya," the girl said. Her voice was steady despite obvious fear. "I'm 12 years old. I was 3 when the New Dawn was taken. I don't remember Earth, but I remember my mother's stories about it." She paused, and Rivera saw her hands were shaking. "They told us no one was coming. They said Earth had forgotten us. They said we were alone." Maya's voice cracked slightly. "But Inspector Vrixtal said help was coming." "Is it true? Are you really coming?" Rivera felt tears on his face. He was not ashamed. "Yes," he said firmly. "We're coming. We never stopped looking for you. We never forgot." "Hold on just a little longer." Maya nodded. Other children moved closer to her, seeking comfort from the only leader they had known. "There are 23 of us from New Dawn," Maya continued, "but there are others here too. Different species. The Torvin keep us separated, but we figured out how to talk to each other. We've been taking care of each other. We won't give up. Neither will we," Rivera promised. "Maya, I need you to do something for me. Keep everyone safe. Keep them calm. We'll be there in less than 30 hours. We'll be ready," Maya said. Then her image flickered. "They're coming. I have to go." The transmission ended. Rivera turned to his crew. Every face showed the same determination, the same fury. All ships, he broadcast to the fleet. You just saw why we're here. That's Maya. She's 12 years old. She's been a prisoner since she was 3. She's been protecting other children for 9 years. She's braver than most soldiers I've known. He paused, letting that sink in. We're going to bring her home. We're going to bring all of them home. And we're going to make sure this never happens again. Prepare for battle. The Torvin clan is about to learn what happens when you cage someone's children. The fleet jumped forward, racing toward Karis 7. Racing toward justice. The Karis system's outer sensors detected the incoming fleet 90 minutes before arrival. Alarms blared across Torvin defensive positions. Merchant Prince Kavros, the clan leader responsible for the facility, watched the tactical display with growing concern. How many ships, he demanded. At least 70, his tactical officer reported. Multiple species. The humans brought friends. Kavros had 40 mercenary vessels, hired from the best fighters the shadow markets could provide. Professional killers with modern weapons. It should have been enough to discourage any attack. Military actions were expensive and politically complicated. Usually a show of force was enough to start negotiations, but the approaching fleet was not slowing down. They're not even trying to negotiate, the tactical officer said, confused. Send a general broadcast, Kavros ordered. Remind them that any attack on our position will result in casualties to the children. Threaten to destroy the facility if they attack. The message was sent. The fleet's response was immediate and cold. Merchant Prince Kavros, Admiral Rivera's voice came through. You have exactly one chance to survive this. Release all children immediately to our rescue teams. Surrender yourself and your leadership for trial. You have 5 minutes to comply. And if we refuse, Kavros sneered, then we come in anyway. And if any child is harmed, there will be nowhere in this galaxy you can hide. Kavros cut the transmission. They're bluffing. They won't risk the children. Prepare defensive positions. When they realize we're serious, they'll back down. He was wrong. The fleet did not slow, did not hesitate. They spread into a perfect assault formation, human ships coordinating with their alien allies like they had trained together for years. The mercenaries opened fire first, hoping to force the fleet to retreat. Energy weapons lit up space. Missiles streaked toward human ships. The human shields held easily. Technology that should not have existed on a primitive world absorbed attacks that would have destroyed most vessels. Then the humans returned fire. It was not a battle. It was an execution. Human weapons were precise and devastating. They did not waste shots. They did not miss. Each strike hit a critical system. Mercenary ships went dark one by one. Their crews, given just enough time to reach escape pods before their vessels were disabled. The Cathari ships joined the fight with their usual brutal efficiency. They had been bred for war for 10,000 years, and they showed it. The luminal vessels provided support, their energy manipulation abilities draining shields and disrupting weapons. In less than 20 minutes, the mercenary fleet was gone. Some ships destroyed, most disabled, all of them helpless. They're monsters, the tactical officer whispered. The humans, they're not primitive at all. Kavros stared at the display in horror. His unbeatable defense had lasted less than half an hour. Activate the facility self-destruct. If we can't have them, neither can... His console exploded. Kavros stumbled back, his face burned. His tactical officer slumped over his station, dead from a precision strike through the hull that somehow hit only him. This is Captain Chen, a voice said through every speaker in the facility. Self-destruct systems are disabled. Weapon systems are disabled. Your personal shuttle just had an unfortunate accident with its fuel lines. You're not going anywhere, Kavros. And you're not hurting anyone else. Small craft began landing across the facility. Human assault teams in powered armor moved with terrifying efficiency. But they were not alone. Cathari warriors came with them. Luminal observers floated through walls. Medical personnel from a dozen species stood ready. Inside the facility, Maya heard the sounds of fighting above. She gathered the other children in the largest cell, having picked the lock weeks ago using a piece of wire she had stolen. The younger ones were crying. She held them close. It's going to be okay, she whispered. They came for us, just like they promised. The door to their cell exploded inward. A figure in armor stood there, weapon raised. Then the helmet retracted, showing a human face. A woman, middle-aged, with tears streaming down her cheeks. "I'm Lieutenant Sarah Chen," she said, her voice breaking. "Earth Defense Force, we're here to take you home." Maya recognized that last name. Chen. Like Dr. Chen from the New Dawn, who had told her stories when she was little. Before the Torvin came. Before everything went dark. "Are you Emma's sister?" Maya asked quietly. Sarah froze. "You know Emma. Is she?" Maya pointed to a small girl hiding behind her, maybe 10 years old, thin and scared, but alive. Sarah fell to her knees. "Emma? Baby, it's Sarah, your sister. I've been looking for you for 30 years. Emma stared at her, uncertain. She had been 5 when taken. Her memories were fragments and dreams. "You used to sing to me," Emma said slowly. "Before bed. Something about stars. Twinkle, twinkle, little star." Sarah sang through her tears. "How I wonder what you are." Emma's face crumbled. She ran to Sarah, and the 2 sisters held each other and cried. But there was no time for reunions. Not yet. The facility was massive, and there were other children to find. The rescue teams split, up following maps uploaded from Vrixtal's stolen files. They found more than they expected. Not just the 23 from New Dawn. There were children from 6 other species, 37 in total. Some had been prisoners for even longer than the humans. A medical team arrived immediately. Doctors and medics from multiple species worked together. They treated injuries, administered nutrients, provided emergency care for the worst cases. Some children were in critical condition, their bodies damaged by years of abuse. Maya refused to be treated until all the younger ones were cared for. She moved among the rescue teams, helping calm frightened children from other species. She knew their languages, learned over years of whispered conversations through cell walls. Admiral Rivera himself came down to the facility. He walked through the corridors, seeing the cells. The medical equipment used for experiments, the records of children who had not survived. His face was stone, but his eyes burned with fury. They found Kavros trying to hide in a storage room. Cathari warriors dragged him out. He tried to claim diplomatic immunity. Tried to offer bribes. Tried to threaten them with his clan's influence. "Your clan is done," Rivera said flatly. "By now, our evidence has been transmitted to every council member who isn't corrupt. The good ones are already signing arrest warrants. The bad ones are running for their lives." "You can't do this," Kavros protested. "You're violating council law. You're saving children," Rivera interrupted. Something the council should have done decades ago. As Kavros was led away in restraints, the rescue teams completed their work. All 37 children were accounted for. Medical ships took the critical cases immediately. The others were brought aboard the Defiance, where hundreds of crew members lined the corridors to welcome them. They cheered. They cried. They offered toys and food and comfort. Many of the crew members had lost family to the New Dawn. Now, impossibly, some of that family was coming home. Maya stood on the bridge with Admiral Rivera, watching Keras 7 through the view screen. The facility was being stripped of all data. Every file, every record, every piece of evidence. "What happens now?" Maya asked. "Now we go home," Rivera said gently. "We get you all medical treatment, counseling. We reunite you with families who never stopped looking." "And the Torvin?" Rivera's expression hardened. "They'll face trial. Every species they hurt gets a voice in their judgment. Justice will be served." Maya nodded slowly. Then she looked up at him. "Admiral, there are more facilities. I heard the guards talking. This isn't the only one." Rivera knelt to her level. "Then we'll find them all. Every single one. And we'll free every child. I promise you that." Behind them, the Cathari commander approached. The massive warrior bowed his head to Maya. "You protected the young ones when no adult could. You have earned the respect of the Cathari people. You are small, but you are mighty. Maya did not fully understand, but she nodded gratefully. As the fleet prepared to leave, one more ship arrived. An old Chalri vessel. Inspector Vrixtal had come to see the children he had saved. Maya asked to meet him. When they brought her to his ship, she did something that surprised everyone. She bowed in the Chalri manner, low and respectful. "Thank you," she said simply. "You didn't forget us." Vrixtal's mandibles trembled with emotion. "I could never forget. You were too brave to forget." The fleet jumped away from Kara 7 carrying 37 children toward freedom. Behind them, the facility was left as evidence, guarded by Council peacekeepers. The galaxy was watching, and the galaxy was changing. The Council chamber had never seen anything like it. Every seat was filled. Every species with Council representation had sent their highest officials. The gallery was packed with observers. Journalists from 1,000 worlds broadcast every moment. In the center of the chamber, restrained and guarded, stood 17 members of the Torvan clan leadership. Merchant Prince Kavros was among them, his face still bandaged from his burns. Next to them in separate restraints were 12 council members who had accepted bribes to ignore the Torvan facilities. But the most striking sight was the witnesses. 37 children from 6 different species. They sat together in a special section, protected by guards from multiple worlds. Maya sat at their front, her hand held by Emma Chen, who had not let go of her young friend since the rescue. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Evidence was presented in exhaustive detail. Medical records showing the abuse, financial records showing the bribes, testimony from guards who had been offered immunity for cooperation. The footage from Kara 7 played over and over, but the most powerful testimony came from the children themselves. Maya spoke first. She was 12 years old, but spoke with the composure of an adult. She told the council about 9 years in a cage, about watching other children die, about keeping the younger ones alive when the adults who should have protected them were the ones hurting them. "They told us no one cared," Maya said, her voice clear in the silent chamber. "They said we were forgotten, property, things to be used. But they were wrong. Someone did care. Inspector Vrixtal cared. Admiral Rivera cared. Earth cared. And because they cared, we're here today." Emma spoke next, her sister Sarah sitting nearby for support. Emma's memories of Earth were faint, but her memories of captivity were sharp. She described the experiments, the pain, the fear. She was 10 years old and could barely finish her testimony before breaking down. Children from other species told similar stories. A young Cathari male, barely old enough to grow his first battle marks, described watching his sibling die from untreated injuries. A luminal child, her energy form flickering with trauma, showed the scars where the Torvan had tried to harvest her essence. The chamber wept. Even the most hardened representatives could not hold back tears. This went beyond politics or profit. This was about fundamental morality. The verdict was unanimous. The Torvan clan was dissolved, all assets seized. The leadership was found guilty of crimes against sentient beings and sentenced to life imprisonment in maximum security facilities. Some species called for execution, but Earth requested mercy. "If we kill them, they become martyrs," Ambassador Elena Vasquez argued. "Let them live long lives in small cells, thinking about the children they hurt. Let that be their punishment," the council agreed. The corrupt council members were expelled and faced charges in their home systems. The precedent was clear. This would never be tolerated again. But the trial was only the beginning. 1 month later, the council held a special session. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood at the central platform, but she was not alone. Maya stood with her, wearing formal clothes that Earth had provided. The girl looked tiny in the vast chamber, but her presence was powerful. "The council recognizes Earth's petition," the speaker announced. "Ambassador Vasquez, you have proposed the new Dawn Accords. Please present them." Elena activated a holographic display. The proposed treaty filled the air above the chamber. "The new Dawn Accords establish universal protections for all children, regardless of species or political affiliation," Elena began. "Any harm to children becomes a crime against the entire galactic community. Any species can invoke council intervention to protect young ones, and enforcement will not be optional." She paused, looking around the chamber. "But that's not all. The Accords also create a permanent rescue force. multiple species contributing ships and personnel, not controlled by any one government, but answerable to all of us, so that if this ever happens again, we act immediately, together. This would give Earth significant influence, a representative objected. Why should we trust a species that hid from us for 50 years? Maya stepped forward. May I speak? She asked quietly. The speaker hesitated, then nodded. The council recognizes Maya, survivor of New Dawn. Maya's voice carried through the chamber. Earth hid because they were afraid. Not for themselves, for their children. They saw what happened to other new species. They saw exploitation and conquest. They decided to be careful. Is that wrong? She looked around at the thousands of representatives. When Inspector Vrixtal found us, he could have walked away. It would have been safer, easier. But he didn't. When Admiral Rivera came for us, he could have negotiated and delayed and played politics. But he didn't. When humanity learned we were alive, they didn't hesitate. They came. They brought friends. They saved us. Her voice grew stronger. I was 3 when I was taken. I'm 12 now. For 9 years I lived in a cage. I protected younger children because no adults were there to do it. I kept them alive. I gave them hope. And I learned something. I learned that when everything goes wrong, when the systems fail and the rules don't help, you need people who will act. People who care more about doing what's right than what's easy. She pointed at the Earth delegation. These people are not perfect, but they came for us. Who else did? For 30 years, who else came? The chamber was silent. I support the New Dawn Accords, Maya said, because I never want another child to go through what we did. And I trust the humans because they already proved they care. They didn't just send thoughts and prayers. They sent ships and soldiers and medical teams. They sent their best people to bring us home. The speaker's voice was gentle. Thank you, Maya. That was very brave. Over the next 3 days, representatives from nearly every council species came forward to sign the accords. Even some species that had historically been hostile to each other signed together. The Karis incident had changed something fundamental in galactic politics. The Cathari representatives signed with their blood, a mark of deepest commitment. The Luminal Collective infused their signature with pure energy. The ancient architects who had not signed a treaty in 1,000 years added their mark. When it was done, 217 species had agreed to the New Dawn Accords. It was the most comprehensive treaty in galactic history. Earth was offered full council membership. Elena's response surprised many. We'll accept observer status with enhanced rights, she said. Full membership. We'll discuss that in a few more decades. We're still learning how this galaxy works, but we're happy to help protect its children while we learn. The decision was respected. Earth had proven itself but remained humble. It was a combination that earned widespread admiration. 10 years passed. The changes were profound and lasting. Maya graduated from the first multi-species university at age 22. She specialized in interspecies child welfare and advocacy. She traveled to dozens of worlds, speaking about her experiences and working to strengthen protections for vulnerable young ones. The other New Dawn survivors also found their paths. Emma Chen became a doctor, helping children recover from trauma. Others became teachers, ambassadors, or joined the New Dawn Rescue Force that had been established under the Accords. The Rescue Force, staffed by volunteers from 50 species, had freed over 800 children from illegal facilities in its first decade. The Karis incident was not the last, but the response was now swift and overwhelming. Child trafficking had not ended, but it was no longer invisible. Admiral Rivera retired from military service and became the director of the New Dawn Foundation, a charity that helped survivors of trafficking recover and rebuild their lives. Sarah Chen worked beside him, having left military service to be close to Emma. Inspector Vrixtal received the Council's highest civilian honor. He retired from service but continued advocating for reform. He and Maya remained friends, exchanging messages regularly across the light years. The Torvin clan was gone, its name a curse word in every language, but the galaxy had changed in ways that went far beyond one evil organization's fall. Species that had been enemies learned to cooperate. Trade routes were secured. New treaties were signed. The Council reformed itself, implementing transparency measures and oversight that prevented the kind of corruption that had enabled the Torvin. On the 10th anniversary of the Karis rescue, A monument was unveiled on Nexus Prime. It showed children of multiple species holding hands in a circle: human, Cathari, luminal, Chalri, dozens more. At the base was a simple inscription in every known language: never again. Any child, any world. The dedication ceremony was attended by thousands. Maya spoke, as did Admiral Rivera and Inspector Vrixtal. But the most moving moment came when the surviving children, now young adults, stood together and pledged to continue the work of protecting the next generation. That evening, Maya stood with Elena Vasquez on an observation deck, watching the stars. "Do you think it will last?" Maya asked. "The accords. The changes. Do you think people will remember?" Elena smiled. "The universe will remember, because you made it impossible to forget. You survived. You testified. You showed everyone what happens when we fail our children. That's a powerful reminder." Maya nodded slowly. "I still have nightmares sometimes. About the cages. About the children who didn't make it.